The following is a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. Hollywood Redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is Black Hollywood Live, the Black Tea Party, featuring weekly discussions on political news and current affairs. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood Redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host of Black Hollywood Live, the Black Tea Party.
It's the Black Tea Party, that's right. Don't you love this vibe, right? This is my jam. Every time I come here, I kind of have to get that groove going. Reminds me that I'm a brother.
Neck a little bit. To your neck a little.
Is it the neck?
Shoulder.
Yeah. See, we got a whole new vibe here. Well. Welcome to the Black Tea Party. I'm Don Nash, standing in for Rome, who's celebrating his birthday this weekend.
Oh.
But I feel like a lucky man, because I'm sitting across the table from the fabulous Courtney Stewart.
Thank you for that intro.
Look at you.
Wonderful to be here. I've never joined the Black Tea Party before.
Well, now see, you all in the mix, right? You all in the mix. That's right. Call it some chai tea now, right? We got a little kick. Listen, I'm happy to have you here because of what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
It's obviously there are a lot of things going around politically, but one of the things that's kicking in our community is a story about my man Ray Rice.
Oh, yeah.
And there's been so much controversy around that. I mean, it's a devastating situation to begin with.
Horrible.
And then it seemed like it just started snowballing out of control. And as opposed to it being, and for those of you, our viewing audience that are not up to speed on this, Ray Rice, NFL player, in 2013 was found, knocking his then fiance out.
Yeah.
And then
dragging her.
Knocking her unconscious, let me say.
Unconscious.
And then dragging her like a carpet.
Yes, just down the hall.
Out of the elevator, down the hallway. And so there's been about a year long of this investigation. And he was recently sentenced, penalized, 2 games. Just 2 games. And I really want to know what you think about that, because it gets into, man-woman relationships too. But is that fair? Is that unfair? Reasonable? Unreasonable?
I mean, it's kind of tough, I think, because I don't know all of the morality clauses and whatnot in NFL contracts. So to me, when I heard 2 games, of course, on the surface, it seems very 2 games, that's nothing.
Right.
But in terms of, I understand that these players are under certain contracts, and I don't know if their contract clauses make it that it's one of those things, is the sentencing all that's available based on what their contract situation is? Then in that regard, I can't be mad at the NFL for real. It's a shame. I think obviously legally I would like to see more happen, in terms of him going to jail and those things, but I don't really know.
Wait a minute, did you say you think he should go to jail?
I mean, I would like to see that happen possibly, but I know that bears weight on his fiance actually pressing charges and cooperating, and that's another whole thing. So that's also why I kind of feel like, is it really his job's responsibility to punish him for a domestic situation that his own partner isn't trying to get?
I think that's a good point. If you're, if you're willing now, and let's bring some clarity to that. At the time of the incident, she was a fiance.
Yes.
She is now his wife,
and it's happening again.
So she's reinforced the bond.
Yes. So she's chosen to continue, and I understand. I don't want everybody to get all upset. I understand cycle of abuse and the idea that women, feel a certain way, you can't get out, and I understand all of that. But it's just like if he was working a 9-to-5 job at Xerox or at IBM or something, would we expect his job to fire him because he beats his wife?
Well, I mean, but you spoke about his job having a morality clause.
Well, I don't know if they do, but if they do,
well, they do have a morality clause.
I would assume that there's something in there.
They do have a morality clause, and actually, if you look at the contractual agreements, the morality clause speaks about even drug use.
Yes.
Under the morality clause, and the punishment is much more severe for utilizing drugs while being a player of the game. So there's an interesting kind of disparity between the two of, should he be more severely punished because he uses a drug against himself, or a violence that he, perpetrates against someone else?
Common sense says he needs to be punished a little more harsher.
You said jail. I heard you say jail.
I
We
mean,
got it on tape.
it's one of those things like you attack somebody, you should be put somewhere for a period of time. Like you need to go, like you attack this person. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I do believe there has to be, I support our legal system, and as it stands, if she's not going to press charges or have a problem with it, then that's a psychological thing she's going to have to deal with down the road. And our legal
Right.
system doesn't need to get involved and shouldn't get involved. And I would be upset if they were able to just kind of, I mean, I know in some cases they can go after people whether or not they have testimony or not from the victim, but if she doesn't want to hold him accountable for it, why would we taxpayers hold him accountable for it?
That's interesting. That's interesting that you say that.
I mean, in a theoretical world, like everybody would stand up and be like, no, it's not okay. I would actually like to see other football players
Right.
have some sort of, I mean, I don't know what they can do, boycott playing with him. Like, I'm not sure what they really can do. But
Right.
if other team members actually vocalized a dissent about him being around or his only 2-game suspension, then I think I would appreciate that a little bit more.
Okay, that's good. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because the public is responding. I mean, there's a petition to, to the NFL to get them to impose a more harsher sentence.
Yeah.
I think the last count was about 47,500 people signed. That sounds like a lot.
But it's not in
It
terms
really
of
isn't a
NFL
lot.
fans,
Not
like-
when it comes down to NFL fans, but it does speak something to, I think, the larger majority of us. I mean, are we becoming desensitized to violence in the sports industry because we're seeing a lot of it?
I think we're desensitized to violence in general as a culture, and
I'm so glad
definitely
you didn't say
against
violence.
women.
Oh, wow, there it is. Okay.
Definitely, I think we
think?
are, because I think we've never. Violence against women can only, in my opinion, obviously, that's my opinion, I think that violence against women will never be eradicated until other men step up to other men to stop it. And so, yes, it would be great if she would press charges and if she didn't marry him, but there's all kind of other stuff that goes along with that. It would be even more great if somehow there was a community of men and football players that
Okay.
some kind of way got into him and were like, dude, this is not acceptable and it is not okay. And not that you can fight violence with violence, but maybe they need to pay him a visit, like at
She
home.
said pay him a visit.
And be
I thought you were
like,
talking about a
"Hey."
peaceful protest, like turning their.
Because it's always that, like, what really will work to
Right.
make somebody really change in that type of situation? And I don't know what the answer is really, but I do know that in terms of making a statement, I think a stronger statement would be other players stepping up and either speaking out about it and as a united front, like, dude, okay, we got to play with you, but we're not. I don't know. We won't hang out with you. We won't. I don't know what the answer is, but they need to say something.
No, I like that. I think, I mean, you're calling, you're looking for valiant men to stand up and be an example, of what should be done. And when something is wrong, to pay attention that it's wrong and not support it
Yeah.
and not cover it up. And you heard it right here on the Black Tea Party. The sister has called out the brothers in the NFL. Stand up.
Say something.
That's
Say
a
something.
challenge. She says, say something.
Say something.
I heard it, right.
Because the same way, I think I thought something that spoke really loudly, like back when the Trayvon Martin thing happened, and the guys that did, like Spike Lee and his son, I know, what's his name, Boris Kojo and his son, they did that cover. They did covers
Right.
for Ebony, I believe, and they all had their hoodies on. Like, we could have been just as
I am
equally
Trayvon
mistaken.
Martin, right.
I think that speaks, when black men step up in general, it can speak volumes in a way that it doesn't get heard on a regular basis.
I agree with you.
And if they would just, can you imagine, like, at a football game before it started? And I don't know, I mean, maybe this is financially not going to work and everybody's, because there's all kinds of elements that go along with it. But if they stood up and said something at the end of the game, at the beginning of the game, and like that was sort of a campaign hashtag that they started, like Team No Violence to Women or something, like that would mean everything.
Probably would mean a lot. I wonder if it would do a lot, because I wonder if, and I'm going to segue to another point related to this story, I wonder if some men understand the psychology of a man that's enraged with his woman. I just wonder if there's some degree of understanding. Stephen Smith, made the statement on ESPN, that implied that women should take some responsibility in not provoking this type of thing happening. And I just wonder if there's somewhere in, the psyche, a conversation that said, bro, I get it. She probably snapped. she probably said something to you that you couldn't, and I just wonder, I mean, what do you think? Even our viewing audience,
Chime in, because I think that is part of it. Actually, like, I think there's an element of she was probably running it off her mouth. Like, you just couldn't take it. Like, I could, because we could. The reality is that we're on a certain level. I believe it's in all of us to a certain degree.
What's it? Rage, anger?
The rage that can go somewhere you don't want it to go to.
Got it.
So there's a certain level of empathy that one would have with that person for that rage, especially guys, I guess. But I would think that, because I'm not entirely opposed to what Stephen Smith was saying, which is very unpopular opinion.
Whoa.
Which Whoopi Goldberg also got a whole lot of flack for not totally disagreeing with what he said. I think the thing that he said that was a problem was when he used the word provoke. And I think that that insinuates that it is her fault. And we're so caught, it's never the woman's fault, it's never the woman's fault. And I agree, it's not anybody's fault when they are hit by anyone. I think that the point that's missed, though, in all of that is that respect and nonviolence towards people is across the board, male, female, what have you.
Right.
And I think that his point was to be that you don't step to a person in a way that you don't want them to step back to you at. And if you're yelling and screaming and throwing stuff and hitting people, then that's what's going to come back to you. It's not a good thing, it's not a great thing, but we should all be trying to behave in a responsible way and communicating in a responsible way.
But I mean, as a woman of color, though, and you have a striking personality, very, capable of articulating yourself, do you think that your passion can sometimes intimidate or buck up? I hate to go personal, but
it can be personal.
I got a sister in the house.
It can be personal. Let's not be confused. I have a mouth,
right?
And I've had one since I was a child, and my parents made it very clear that they knew I had a mouth, and I've spent my childhood getting in trouble for my mouth and learning, but I've had to learn to work within it, because the bottom line is disrespect from anybody is not okay.
Right.
I don't care how passionate you are about something. You can express passion, you can express rage in a healthy manner.
Right.
And I myself have had to learn, because I've got a temper. I also have a boyfriend who has a temper and who is a freaking Marine. So we had to learn how to communicate with each other in ways that don't set us off into places that we don't need to go, so we ain't beating on each other.
But see, you're opening it up there, though, because there, in that, I hear an admission that there is some place you can send me.
Oh, yes.
So you need not send me. Therefore, there's a responsibility that you have to not trigger me and send me?
I think in a relationship, this is specifically in a relationship, romantically involved, like you have a certain care for a person that you know what their triggers are, you learn what their triggers are. And as a person that's supposed to love and care about somebody, your goal is to do your best not to push those triggers purposefully. Will it happen? Probably. Obviously, and that means the other person has done work on themselves to when those triggers are pushed, they're not going as far as awful things happening. But I do think you take on a certain level of responsibility and care for the person that you're with to be like, I'm not going to go there because I know what that can do. Like, for me, I would never be up in my personal boyfriend's face with wagging around things in his face, because he has a thing about
his space,
stuff in his face. And and he's got a military background. He's been to war. There's certain things that
you don't want him to snap, crackle, pop, right?
But I respect and know that that's a part of him right now, because that's what has happened to him in his life.
Right.
The same way that there's certain things that are part of my life that trigger me that he knows that he doesn't want to go there with. So I just think we all don't take enough responsibility and care for the people in our lives. And
so if we put this back into this, what you just brought, which I think is very valuable, and superimpose it back into this relationship, this dynamic, this brother you wanted to send to jail about 10 minutes ago, I'm wondering whether or not we need to be having a different conversation other than demonizing him, maybe even threatening demonizing her, and talk more about communication in the relationship.
I definitely don't think we should demonize either of them.
Okay.
Because it's hard, because he's been in a situation where he's done it more than once, but it's obviously a pattern and he obviously needs help. That's not acceptable, okay behavior. Something is wrong. The issue, I personally think, like I'm saying, I'll go to jail, like they need to be separated. But the fact that they don't know that is part of the problem, and we don't live in a culture where we get to determine what people's personal relationships are. So they continue to choose violence with each other, then that's really not within our...
And am I wrong? And I could be wrong, and I don't want to get beat up for being wrong here, because I'm working through this. I'm looking at this in degrees. He knocked this sister
out and dragged her down. That's why it's hard to not be like, take him to jail.
But it's not like, I don't want to water this down either. It's not like he was holding her and trying to keep her from leaving. You know what I'm saying? Or, I don't know. I'm just saying it's not like he was doing that. And I think that's violent too.
Yeah.
You don't touch a person when the energy and the passion is that high.
Yeah.
But he knocked her out. I remember Oprah. Oprah said, if he beat you once, he will beat you again.
And he obviously has.
And he has.
But she's still there.
Yeah, but what did we say to her?
I mean, her circle needs to get around her, and I don't know who her people are, and maybe she doesn't have any people.
Right.
And that's sad. Like, and maybe what would be great is if the football players all went to her and tried to be like, hey, and I don't know financially where they are. Maybe because when finances get involved and all the other things about life, like I can't really leave them because this is the lifestyle we live. Maybe it would be cool if all the male football players sort of circled around her and were like, look, we can set you up with this for a year to get your life separated, get you some therapy, get you some help. Just live over here for a year. If you need our help, like, we can be there for you however we can be there for you. Maybe we can...
But are you looking for the NFL Green Berets? You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
I'm sitting up here wondering, these brothers saying, look, I got my own problem over here.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has their own problem.
Right, you got to work that one out over there and not knock this sister out again.
Exactly. But if we're talking about how does it really stop?
Right.
Because the reality is, okay, she leaves. He's going to get another girlfriend. He play football. He's going to be fine. He's going to get another girlfriend. He's probably going to hit her too. And at some point, when are we going to make it not an option? Like, how do we do that?
When the penalty is so great that it causes you to think before you act.
But is the penalty really, I mean, if you can't go back to football, you don't think that's going to make him more angry and only act it out worse?
I mean, I think that we're probably having the wrong conversation anyway. I think the conversation is not about the act, but the thing that triggers him. And I also wonder whether or not this is psychology of violence in the sports, because that's been conversation.
I mean, that's what they do.
You know,
it's their goal to knock each other down.
Yeah, and it's also kind of it's spontaneous.
Yeah.
It's instinctual. It's kind of like act before you think.
Yeah.
You know, you can't always strategize the play you're in the middle of.
Yeah.
You know, so I wonder if that has some play in it too. It doesn't excuse it. It certainly doesn't justify it.
But it trains it to be that way all the time.
Well, it helps us to understand what we're cultivating, you know, because maybe we're cultivating a society where we've got a violent sports industry and it's perpetuating
one at least,
very aggressive, and maybe it's perpetuating some things in the domestic realm.
Yeah, I mean, think about, this, to me, the sports and like military stuff just overlaps because there's so many stories about people coming back from different things, killing wives and burying them that were in the military because we train our military to be so great.
Right.
But when they come back, we don't untrain that.
Right.
We train them to kill
decompress
without feeling, to kill on instinct when the situation is what it is, but we don't undo that.
There's an interesting parallel
and there. The people, they come back and they're in the real world and having to deal with real problems, and the way they deal with their problems has been trained into them to attack.
Right.
So I think we're screwed up.
I think we got a problem
screwed
here. We have a problem. Now, interesting, this is the Black Tea Party.
Yes.
So I have to throw this in there because I've heard this in talking to people about this. If she were white, do you think the penalty would have been greater? And I'm asking you as a woman of color because there's a lot of general opinion that we devalue, you know, the black woman, but I wonder how you feel as a black woman when you put that slight twist on it.
I think there is a high likelihood that, yes, it would have been a little bit more harsh. But from what I've seen from high school kids playing sports, raping girls at parties and posting it on the internet and only getting, you know, not even getting suspended from school or what have you, I don't think that is entirely really the problem. Because I think in general, we live in a country that we exalt our athletes on levels of gods that are untouchable. And I mean, on that level, him being a black man and she being a white girl, possibly, more than likely, there would have been a little extra. There might have been more outrage from a lot more outlets that pushed the NFL to punish him a little bit harsher.
Right.
But in general, I don't think that we really attempt to punish our athletes in the way that we should in almost any situation. Because
and I don't know if it's just the organization, because I think that we as a people are very
Oh,
forgiving.
yeah.
We've
We're
got a long
very
list,
forgiving.
a long list of forgiven athletes for things that they've done, right?
from the time they are high school on up, all through college, lots of incidences of inappropriate sexual violence, all kinds of things throughout college from athletes that gets just kind of, oh, it wasn't that bad. And
Right.
the woman is at fault. And generally, she's often going back to him or fine with him. And so we're
Right.
like, well, she's fine with it. Why does anybody care? So I don't think, probably, I mean, I would say maybe 60% that it would have been a little bit worse. But I don't think it would have been what it should have been.
It's still pretty significant.
It's
though.
significant, yes, but I don't think it's 100%. And I also don't think we would still, I think we still would be like, that still isn't enough.
I think so. I mean, and maybe it's because we saw the image of him dragging her out. I
Exactly.
remember when Chris Brown and Rihanna,
And you
that
saw her
scandal happened and
face.
you saw her face. It made it real, but there was also a degree of disassociation
Mm-hmm.
with the image because it was a picture. And I think there was talk about the picture had been kind of played with a
Played
little bit.
with, yep.
So then every time they threw a question out there, it kind of desensitized the
Everybody
impact.
turned it down a little bit.
Right.
Yep.
But we literally saw this man drag this woman out of this elevator. And it was something about that picture that just looked like a scene from a movie.
Yeah.
And I personally want to know what happened in the elevator, because I just saw what happened in the elevator with Jay-Z
Jay-Z and Beyonce and her sister Solange,
Exactly. So somewhere there's a tape.
Tape
I'm asking for the
somewhere.
tape.
We would like to see the tape, guys.
I would like to see the tape. Somebody
Yes.
roll it back.
Yeah.
Because I think, I don't know. What happened?
I mean, I think the scary part of that too is that we've seen this, the whole elevator incident. He's punched her in her face, like awful thing. Those are only one or two incidences that we've seen. It's obviously probably happened many more times.
Yeah.
And so is it the NFL's job to figure that out and to punish him for it? Or is it somebody else's?
But do we have a moral responsibility, whether or not it's celebrity or sports athlete, and let's put them all in the same category, that if we elevate you and make you a figure to represent something of discipline and a commitment to excellence, should we then have a moral standard that we impose upon you? And if you fall off of that pedestal, then maybe you're no longer capable of standing on that pedestal.
Perhaps. And if people won't go to the games, then that will say something.
I think she telling y'all to turn y'all tickets in.
I'm
Don't
just
buy no
saying,
more.
because we can talk, like we can say it's their responsibility to punish him
It's
and put
our
him away. It's
responsibility.
our responsibility. The NFL is what it is because of us, because we buy tickets, because we go to these games, because we buy the clothes.
And because we watch our friends disrespect our women and we don't stand up.
Walk and still go see him play ball. Boy can play ball. I mean, he could throw a ball. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
And
Because I
that's-
get my fix from
And
it.
if that's the attitude we have, why should we expect more of a corporation?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
we're the ones that have the moral obligations. Like,
Right, we do.
Like figure it out. And
Right.
if we're not going to do it, then we can't be standing here like, oh my God, and
Right.
then not doing anything about it.
Right. I love this conversation because, I mean, obviously it's not so much politics, but it is a political dynamic that's
Yeah.
involved with it. And yet talking to you is refreshing because I think you're helping some folk today. I mean, I think we're helping some people today. That's right.
Help
That's
y'all.
right.
And if you got to hit each other, then you just probably should go this way. Just go that way.
Just go that way. Now, but tell me this,
Even
though.
if it's a little walk.
Just a little walk.
Take a little walk.
Take 5 and then
know
come
what I'm
back.
saying?
Send me a text of what you think so you don't have to
Let's
hit
talk
me.
about it. Hit up Twitter and be like, oh, she's about to make me. And then we can all be like, nah, boo,
Don't
don't
calm
go
down.
there. Just relax.
Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to launch like a hashtag, a Twitter line or
Seriously.
something to say, winning crisis.
Exactly. Hashtag crisis. Need help
crisis.
now.
I'm about to snap, y'all. Don't snap. You know?
I actually like that. I'm about to snap y'all.
I'm about to
Somebody
snap.
needs to help. And then all the Twitter people can come in and then
See?
you start reading and
You
think
heard
about
it
something
here
else.
on Black Tea Party. I'm
We
about
got-
to snap,
We
y'all.
about solutions, y'all. Solutions.
That's it.
There you go.
But before we close it, because I think somebody needs to hear this too, because
Mm-hmm.
you talked about the cycle of the victim
Yeah.
and being abused. This dude's come back and he appears to be very sorry. The sad part is she blinked. If you could see the blink on her eyes, I already
I'm
know
sure
where she
he
is.
is very
But he was
sorry.
very sorry, and even Goodell, I mean, got up and said, he's very remorseful for what he's done, but he recognizes he's got a lot to do to reestablish himself. And so, as a woman, I'm wondering, what does that sorry mean to you? And then what do you think it should mean to women?
I think it should mean nothing unless he is doing something about it.
Yes.
If he's in therapy for figuring out whatever the heck his issues are, then fine. But if he's working with a PR person to figure out how to fix his image and how to get just focused back on work and get back into football, because that's what it's about. No, that's not what it's about. Something is cracked in your brain that you need to get healed. You need something cracked. Something's wrong. Like, it's not, you cannot deal with life. Because whatever's happening, it's too much for you and you nut up. And that's not how you can behave and live in this society, because that's what we've decided is not acceptable behavior. Or have we really? I don't know.
Right.
But
Very good
ideally, that's not what we've decided is acceptable behavior. So you can be all the sorry you want to, but sorry don't mean anything if you're not doing anything. So as a woman, go get help. And if it's Jesus, if it's Buddha, if it's whoever, like, at least show that you're doing something else.
Show that you're doing something. Let's break the cycle of abuse, right?
Try.
Certainly in the Black family, but also just in the world, because I think violence is, as you've said so eloquently, violence is no good anywhere, and we have to respect one another.
Exactly.
Protect our boundaries, protect our relationship.
It ain't working for Israel and Hamas. It ain't working. It's not working, y'all.
It's not working.
It's not working. Do something else.
You have heard it here. We have kicked it around. Ray Rice, my man, if you're out there and you get a click of this, please understand that we support you, but we support the greater you and not the smaller you. Keep your hands off of a woman, right?
I like that.
And if you are out there and that's your buddy, you ought to do something to stand in the gap, protect the sisters, because if we don't protect them, nobody else will. And if all else fails, I'm about to snap y'all.com, right? Hashtag, right?
Hashtag I'm about to snap.
I'm Don Nash. This is the Black Tea Party, and I'm so blessed to be sitting across from the lovely Miss Stewart.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We'll see y'all next time. Have a good one. Wow.
Good stuff.
You broke it off.
From producers Maria Menounos, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in.
Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.
Thanks for watching Black Hollywood Live on YouTube. For more in-depth interviews and news, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion in the comment section below here. See you soon, everyone. Bye.